Doing today? Okay, let's try that again. How's everybody doing today? Okay, we're halfway there. You guys really biohackers? Are you guys want to show how much energy you have? How are we all doing today? All right, thank you very much. I want to first extend a warm thank you to Tamo and the entire biohacking crew. I really appreciate having the opportunity to come to Finland. It's my first time, so thank you for everyone in Finland for making it such an awesome place. Second thing I'd like to share with you, stay to the end, because I'm going to be tossing out some free products, so we'll do a little competition. And then the third thing I'd like to say, if there's anything that I don't cover here today, that you have specific questions that you would like to have answered or things related to your own health optimization, biohacking, these type of things, please come by the Bioptimizers booth. Myself, Andy, and Vita will be there all day long, and we'll be here to answer your specific questions. Sound fair enough? Sound fair enough? All right. So I'm from North America. And we're really robust kind of talkative people. And one of the things, if I say something, it doesn't mean anything. If you say something, it means what? 3 people. It means what? It means everything. And so one of the ways to learn, accelerate learning, is to participate. So lots of times I will ask questions. And when I ask a question, if you want to just shout it out, that would be great. And if you're really good at it, I might throw you a prize. Sound fair enough? All right, so let's get into today's topic. This is all about, let's go backwards here. There we go. We're going to talk today about how to supercharge your protein, digestion, muscle building, and fat burning. For those who don't know why this is such an important topic for me, is because in 2003, I was competing at the Mr. Universe contest. And it was a little bit unusual because I was doing it as a vegetarian. I wasn't using chemicals. I wasn't using drugs. In fact, a lot of people think that we were one of the original biohackers out of the bodybuilding field. We were coming up with meditation devices, cold therapy, hot therapy. We're using electronic stimulation, microcurrent. We were using brain optimization technology. We were doing this literally over 20 years ago. And then that eventually evolved into the biohacking community. I don't think it was I just ended up here because once my career ended, I wanted to go down that route. But what a lot of people don't realize is when I got ready for the Mr. Universe contest, although the pictures looked really great, and I still leverage those pictures today, I obviously don't look like I'm in stage competition anymore. But after that contest, I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks. And so you can imagine how devastating that was. Here I am supposed to be at the peak of physical development. I have what I would say the cosmetic idea of fitness and what a person, quote unquote, should look like if you're in an optimized state. Yet I was suffering from severe challenges, and they were related to digestion. And the reason that happened is because I was applying a concept or an ideology that was actually non-effective. The problem with it is it was so pervasive inside the athletic world, so pervasive in the performance world, that people just accepted it as truth. So I took it upon myself to how to fix myself. I met a fellow by the name of Dr. Michael O'Brien. The guy was in his 70s. He had super clear skin. He was extremely vibrant. He was in great condition. He was as intelligent, as smart as anyone I'd ever met. And I went to him and I said, Dr. O'Brien, I said, I don't understand. I have the best coach in the world. I've been training for 16 years. I've hit the pinnacle of physical development. And my body's breaking down. I'm 31 years old. And somehow I gained all this problem. What went wrong? And he said something to me that has stuck with me ever since, and I hope all of you can incorporate this in your own lives. And he said, Wade, you've made a critical error in the standpoint is that you've learned to build the body from the outside in. Putting on muscle, body fat, a lot of the markers that we will use to test performance or athleticism or fitness. He goes, but what you missed is that you don't know how to build the body from the inside out. And I said, you're right. So how do I go do with that? So long story short, I followed his program. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Rebuilt myself, recaptured my health and my performance in about 6 months. After which I tested my business partner and I, Matt Gallant, who is the co-founder of Bioptimizers. This was back in the day in early Google. There was no Facebook or anything like that. We started our own boards and we started an education course in bodybuilding. And that led to us coaching over 15,000 clients worldwide over the next 4 years. And from that, we gathered an incredible amount of real-world data from real people doing the real work. And from that, we developed a system and a methodology and techniques and technology that can accelerate virtually anybody's health, whether you are in a very compromised physical state or whether you're looking to seek the highest levels of human potential. The principles are universal because they're applying this technology from in. Does that make sense? Yes. 3 people. Does that make sense? Yes. Thank you. All right. So that's a little bit about my background. By the way, at the end of that, 4 years later, I came back, went to the World Championships, got ready in a few weeks, won both of my divisions, and went on and represented the country better. And then from that, I retired and chose to spend the rest of my days helping people just like yourselves avoid making the mistakes that I've made, as well as providing technology to keep people from, if they've gone down a route they're not at their optimal health, that they can recapture that. Sound fair enough? Okay. So, let's talk about the protein lie. How many people here are athletes? Half the room. How many people are sort of athletes? How many people won't raise their hand no matter what I ask? Okay, that's what I thought. So, one of the people in the athletes, how many grams per pound of body weight should you have if you're a hard training athlete? Anyone? What's that? 0.8, what? 1 gram, 1 gram, there you go. So one of the common pervasive, I would say, accepted truths, which may not actually be true, is that if you're a hard training athlete, you need 1 gram per pound of body weight of lean body mass in order to maintain and to recover from your athletic program. That's pretty much generally accepted. Now, is that true? Is that true? See, no one knows. The next question I'm going to ask you is, if you eat 1 gram of protein or you eat 100 grams of protein, do you think you absorb, assimilate, and utilize every single component of that protein? No. So then, if that's true, how is it possible that it can be a universally accepted principle that it's 1 gram per pound of body weight? See, it doesn't make any sense. So the question is, what is accurate? And so today I'm going to take with you a way that you can look at your protein consumption for athletic recovery, for performance, for brain optimization, repair and immune system function, and apply it in your own life. And then I'm going to give you a couple of hacks that you can do to test this in your own life on a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis. Sound fair enough? Yeah, okay, great. So, the protein lie. Whey protein is one of, if you go back about 20 years ago, that became kind of the pervasive protein supplement in the world. Almost all athletes use some form of that or other protein powders. The trend is starting to change. But we can accept that there was all this research and scientific and marketing, everything's talking about how effective whey protein is for stimulating immune response and recovery and stuff. But when you actually strip it away and compare apples to apples, it's really not one of the more effective proteins out there. It's a huge industry, takes up about a third of the protein market, and it continues to grow. Now, how many people think that if a little bit is good, more is better? Yeah, so someone's honest over here. And that's kind of the way athletes kind of think. If a little bit of training is good, a lot would be better. If a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. It's kind of a bias that humans have that bleeds into our thinking, and it bleeds into how we look at things. So if we look at the protein myth and you actually stare the research, there is absolutely no beneficial effect of taking whey to improve muscle protein synthesis. If you were to use anabolic steroids, for example, or peptide chains, or SARMs, which is a new branch which is in the chemical stuff, all of those things assist in the increase of protein synthesis. So athletes who are bigger and stronger and larger and recover faster, it's not because they're eating more protein, it's because they've optimized or accelerated or enhanced through a variety of methods their protein synthesis. Now, what's interesting is the studies are showing now that the more protein you take, the actually more ineffective that you become in absorbing, digesting, utilizing, and assimilating that protein. So what they found, it actually lowers protein synthesis. So what happens is and I used to witness this in our own coaching, is we'd have athletes that would start out and they were, maybe they were taking a half gram before they got into training. They'd boost it up to a 1 gram per protein per pound of body weight. And over the course of a little bit of time, we would find out that they would start to increase their muscle mass for maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks, then it would plateau. And no difference. And so what would happen is a lot of people would say, well, I need more protein, or I need more protein, or I need more protein. So as they kept going up the curve, we'd see that their body fat percentages started to actually increase, and that their performance started to go down. And so that was just anecdotal, but the research now controls it. Now here's the thing. Most protein that you consume is only 18 to 48% actually absorbed and utilized. So I want you to recognize something, that in our bodies, it's a single canal from our mouth right to our anus. So when you consume food, you taste, touch, and feel the food, you sense the food, and that prepares the system in order to develop the particular enzymes and the different pathways to prepare you to eat. You chew the food, you masticate, the food goes down the esophageal sphincter. After about 30 to 60 minutes, hydrochloric acid starts to come into the stomach. That changes the pH. As the pH changes, different enzymes become activated, other ones become deactivated, until all that product is starting to break down. Then your body releases what's called bicarbonate minerals. It buffers the acids that your stomach acid produces. The food chyme goes into the intestinal tract, and that is where the friendly bacteria inside your body will feed on it, or the unfriendly bacteria, depending on what is the state of your microbiome. How many people here are measuring or testing their microbiome as of now? How many people don't know what the microbiome is? Okay, so for those people who don't know what it is, the microbiome is the totality of all of the organisms, I call them the good, the bad, and the ugly, that are living inside your body right now, that are either accelerating your health or it's detracting from your health. And I would say there's 10% of these bacteria are good, 10% are bad, and 80% are what I call opportunists. So these bacteria will become activated based on lifestyle, environment, food, diet choices, stress levels, et cetera, that will influence that. And your microbiome's changing all the time. And in today's world, thanks to the overprescription of antibiotics for the last 60 to 70 years, and I'm I'm not condemning antibiotics because most of us are here because of antibiotics have saved someone in our family that allowed us to procreate. So there's some benefits to it, but the overprescription of it has created a dysbiosis in the microbiome of the population, and that's allowing people to not optimize their health. I believe the reason that people choose various types of diets, some people might do well on a keto diet, some might do well on a vegetarian diet, some might do better on a paleo. I call those the kind of 3 great movements, and there's subcategories underneath each one of those. The reality is the diet that's best to you is going to be relative to the microbiome that is natural to you or that you've cultivated on your own endeavors, okay? And so basically what you want to do if you want to absorb a lot of proteins, you want to make sure you have a lot of enzymes, high hydrochloric acid levels, and you want a very friendly microbiome environment that allow you to digest, absorb, assimilate, and utilize all of the protein that you're consuming so that you compare your tissues. So if you look at this chart, we see things like egg protein, meat, poultry. We see whey, soy powders, branched chain amino acids. The bottom line is 50 to 80% of our protein is actually wasted. And that means you diminish returns when you consume more. And this has a huge factor on how quickly you exhaust your energy reserves inside the body. So one of the reasons that I see intermittent fasting becoming so popular. How many people here do intermittent fasting? Oh, wow, look at that. How many people don't know what intermittent fasting is? A couple people. Okay, so basically it's extending periods of time anywhere from 8 to 23 hours a day where you don't eat. And then sometimes you can extend that into fasting, over 3 days or 10 days or these type of things for specific areas. It's becoming quite popular, and I think it's a result of people over-consuming. Intermittent fasting is not the impetus to building the health. What it is, it's reducing the things that are detracting from your physicality, and your body starts to heal itself. The other thing here I want to talk about is what happens when you take in excess protein alters. How many people are familiar with mTOR signaling? Yeah, so this is a big thing. This is what is vital for cellular repair and renewal. And it's a huge factor in longevity in cancer prevention. So excess protein consumption negatively affects mTOR signaling. And this is all, I work with the American Anti-Cancer Institute. And if, for example, if you're on a protein diet, like a high meat-based diet, for example, you have about a 4 times likelihood of developing cancer. So what is the truth about protein? Well, the truth about protein comes down to efficiency. The whole idea is that you want to have a rise in serum amino acid levels. That is one of the things that you want. You want a rise in total nitrogen excretion. And the bottom line is your intake of nitrogen needs to be greater than the excretion. That puts you in an anabolic state. An anabolic state means that your body is building up. A catabolic state is where your body's breaking down. Now, those are 2 essential components that have to balance each other. Otherwise, you would either become, 5 million pounds, or you would waste away to nothing. And in the extreme cases, that's what happens to people. So what you want to do is you need to be able to eat the right amount of protein and to be able to utilize that protein so that you can get your goals that you're trying to get. So here again, about 20-25%. The key is you got to find your sweet spot. If I were to poll everybody here, we did some lab tests on you, I bet that maybe 10% of this room would have optimal protein absorption, digestion, and utilization. And probably less than that, maybe 2 or 3% of everybody attending here would actually have a digestive system that is functional for a variety of different diets. And what I believe that when you become biologically optimized is that you could be successful on virtually any diet. So for example, because it really has nothing to do with the protein, the fats, the carbohydrates, it's about electron covalent transfer. It's a transference of energy. And so if you understand that concept and you can step away from the biochemical one for one step from that, you can realize that it's all about the flow of electrons inside the body. And since we derive most of our food from, most of our energy from food, we tend to think that's the only source of energy, and that's not accurate. The other thing with excess protein consumption is you'll produce excess sugar. There's a variety of negative side effects. It feeds bad bacteria, indole, skatol, these type of toxic products produced from bacteria that are eating undigested protein. So if you wake up in the morning and you have brain fog, anybody have that sometimes? Okay, that means that you have bacteria that are consuming undigested protein that's creating neurotoxins in your brain. Anybody here suffer or know someone that suffers from depression? 25% of the population aren't able to convert the protein they're eating into the essential amino acids that build the neurotransmitters for your brain. And so now it's been proven that about 95% of the neurotransmitters that your brain uses is actually produced in your guts, inside your intestinal tract. And what we're seeing is a scaling up of the more and more people have depression. I think we're at about 25% of the population in North America. I don't know what it is here in Finland. But it keeps increasing, and it's related to this whole protein absorption component. Now, here's one of the things that I think is an advantage of protein. So I don't want to just throw protein under the bus, is that you can have a longer transit time. What that means is it's easier to eat less calories on a high-protein diet. Okay, do you guys remember that? So one of the reasons that a lot of the success of the ketogenic diet, my business partner's a ketogenic guy. I'm a vegetarian guy, so we're at the polar opposites of the spectrum, but we both focus on optimizing our digestive health. So it's not that there's one diet better than another diet, it's which is the right diet for you based on your ability to digest, absorb it, utilizing your personal preferences. And so when you look at that, the one thing I can say without a doubt, if the more protein you eat, it does seem to be able, because it takes so much energy to metabolize and digest, it tends to be easier to stay at a lean body fat level than if you have a low protein diet. Now, how can you be more efficient? So when it came to me, I'm competing at world championships as a bodybuilder. I'd be on stage at about 196 pounds, that's so 90 kilos. And so at that level, I was only eating 85 grams of protein a day, and most of my athletes that I was competing against were eating like 300 grams. And the reason was, if you actually broke it down, I was probably absorbing, utilizing the digestion more of the protein, of the 85 grams than they were with 300 grams. So let me share how that was. So enzymes. Enzymes, anybody know what an enzyme is? Yeah, an enzyme is a catalyst. Virtually every single chemical reaction inside your body, from thinking to blinking, requires an enzymatic activity. It is the catalyst for every single chemical reaction in your body. There's over 25,000 different enzymes that they are aware of, and they keep increasing all the times. And the thing is every species on the planet eats their food in a raw food state. So a tiger will knock down a zebra. Okay, it'll eat the entrails of the zebra, then it eats the carcass, and it moves on. It gets the enzymes, the probiotics in that product. If you're a bear, you go out and eat a blueberry, or you go out and eat a salmon, it's an omnivore, guess what? It's consuming it in a live state. It consumes, and it gets all the enzymes and the bacteria. If you're a cow or a horse and you're eating grass, it'll go for the grass, or go for the roots and vegetables and things where it has the most enzymatic content. And the probiotics that are natural to that species are usually present on or around or in that plant. And so it gets the enzymes in consumption with the food that it eats. Humans are the only species in the world that cooks their food. And when you cook your food, you destroy all the enzymes. And for those who like to do some research, write this book down. You can write it down. Dr. Edward Hall, who is the pioneer of enzymatic research back in the 40s, 30s, and 40s and 50s, he determined that the average person at the age of 40 years old has less than 30% of the enzymatic capacity they have. They have a microbiome that is compromised by about 90% from where they were at birth. And they have hydrochloric acids that aren't sufficient enough for them to sustain their ability to digest protein. But what's particularly interesting about the enzyme issue is that by third generation, they did all these experiments, these populations, whether it was cats, dogs, horses, whatever species they used, that by the third generation, they lost the ability to procreate. They started to elicit strange sociological behaviors inside the body, and they started to see a massive rise in genetic illnesses. Well, since World War II, we've increased the use of chemicals, we've increased the use of agents that have compromised people's digestive systems, and the reality is that virtually almost everyone has a compromised digestive system because of that. So by adding enzymes into your thing, you can increase 110 or 127% more increase without eating another gram of protein, and that was the keys to my own success. So how else can you optimize this? If you're looking at clean sources of food, you can see it up there. Wild fish, free-range chicken, almonds and other tree nuts. Different nuts will have different effects inside the body based on the lipid profile and the amino acids. Quinoa, pastured eggs, organic Greek yogurt, grass-fed beef, chia seeds, flax seeds, legumes, organic pasteurized pork, and gluten-free oats. You can take a picture of this so you can kind of get a ratio and then work on how you want to build out your own diets in order to optimize for your health and your goals. Now, supplementation, as far as adding extra amino acids, the research is showing that essential amino acids are more effective for digestion, absorbing, and utilizing than branched-chain amino acids. I know Ben Greenfield and I were talking about this about a year and a half ago. We had a long discussion about all this stuff, and the research came out in support of Ben's position. So I had to change my own beliefs around that because I used to use a lot of branched-chain amino acids being a vegetarian. I couldn't have access to them, but when we compared apple to apples, and I got some really good essential amino acids, that the EAAs were much better than the BCAAs. So these are very powerful, particularly if you're intermittent fasting. What I find that you can extend the duration of the fast quite significantly by adding some tablets of essential amino acids over a period of time. So it really stabilizes your brain functioning over time. I think it's really great. Protein timing, there's another myth. There's no benefit to eating, to increasing strength or enhancing muscle after a workout, that 1 hour window that was quite popular. And there's no proof that there's an anabolic window at all. In fact, you got to eat what's right for you. It's about what you eat over the course of 24 hours, over 7 days a week, over 52 weeks a year, et cetera, that determines not whether you had a protein drink after your leg workout. Okay, so that's a myth. Now, rebuilding your health with probiotics. How many people here use probiotics? Yeah, almost everybody, great. How many people don't use probiotics? Well, if you don't, I would highly recommend doing it. For people that don't know that our food production, distribution, and development has altered the amount of enzymes we have present, but also the amount of bacteria we have, the antibiotic chemicals, the agents that are used to spray on foods, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. Notice they all are related to homicide and suicide. If it says aside, it's not good. But the bottom line is those two items you need to really, really focus on to add extra probiotics into your diet, because that is what we're naturally supposed to have, but our food production has moved us away from natural stuff. The other thing that you want to do is you want to boost stomach acid. Hydrochloric acid, you could get like betaine, HCl, which is one of the best sources, plant-based. It's really good. It's a precursor to pepsinogen. The other thing is it helps things being absorbed by the small intestine. Again, that second stage of digestion, hydrochloric acid is going to determine how effective your digestion is going to be. Here's the proteins to avoid. You want to avoid all the processed stuff, grain-fed meats, low-quality protein powder, and conventional pasteurized dairy products. Take a picture of that if you want. These are critical factors that are going to interrupt your health and long-term. Also, these things really impair your endocrine system and your hormones. So it's a huge factor, not just on the protein side, but on the chemical agents that are added to them. How to pick a protein powder. How many people take a protein powder? Yeah, almost half the crowd. So here's my kind of top 8 tips. Number 1, get a high biological value. Number 2, make sure that it's pure, clean, organic, if possible. No fillers. Avoid maltodextrin and other kind of chemical additives. Include enzymes. Enzymes should be consumed with all your protein, so get a protein that has enzymes or add enzymes into a protein powder if you like a particular brand. Make sure it's not denatured, heated, or damaged anywhere. The reason why you can curl your hair on a curling iron is because it changes the structure of the protein. When you cook your food, it changes the structure of the protein as well, and will render a lot of it useless. You also got to make sure that you can use low in sugar. I like stevia and monk fruit, particularly in combination. I think if you're cooking, stevia is maybe, or monk fruit is probably best for cooking. I think it does well in high temperature where stevia doesn't do so well. But I really like monk fruit. I think it's got some real positive benefits and it tastes great. And then finally, does it digest well for you? How do you feel after? And for all of us, I think it's important to track our biomarkers. So, and one more thing, a little trick, if you're into working out and stuff, what you can do is mix your protein shake up before your workout, put your enzymes in it, and let it continue to digest in the cup, and you can sip that during your training program, and that's been shown to prove athletic performance and recovering far better than after the meal. So take it before and during, just sip it slowly with the enzymes present. That way you're not using any of your own energy to digest that food. Here's some supplements for protein maximization. Enzymes with protease, proteolytic probiotics, betaine HCl. Once a week I would take an herbal concoction that will help remove products out to avoid constipation or the buildup of plaque inside the body, and use a high quality protein powder. Now, let's put it all together here real quick because we don't have a lot of time. Like I said, we only got about 3 minutes, and I'll be taking questions at the booth afterwards. So kill the myth. More protein is not better. Unabsorbed protein can become toxic. Too much protein ages you. Okay? Maximum protein absorption, you need enzymes are key, as well as hydrochloric acid. Avoid toxic proteins. Those are the denatured, the commercial meat and dairy particularly are the big ones. Consume cleaner sources, wild fish, eggs, veggies, these type of things. The more wildcraft that you can get, the better off it is. Pick the right protein powder, supplements to boost your protein digestion, and track how you feel, digest, and optimize. Those are the 3 things. Just keep a journal and go by how you feel. There's no better biohacking computer built today than your own physiological body. It's the process of literally billions of years of evolution. It has such sophisticated and refined systems, and as you get cleaner and cleaner and more tuned, you'll actually be able to you'll be able to touch your product and know if that's right for you. You do have that capacity, and don't get too distracted by all the technological advancements we made. So now to close up, I'm gonna have a few things I want to throw away for you guys to grab. So I need everybody to pay quick attention. So, what is the number one thing that'll help us absorb protein? All right, here, right over there. All right. What is the one thing that you need to boost stomach acid? What was that over there? Hydrochloric acid. Who said that? All right, and then what is the type of probiotic that was going to help you break down your foods? Yeah, proteolytic probiotics. For those who don't know, we have these. It's called P3OM. It's a patented strain. Antiviral, antiretroviral, proteolytic, digest tumors. It's maintainable in the gastrointestinal tract. It's the state-of-the-art, the new probiotics. And so, yeah, here you go. All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And if you have your specific questions, please come by the booth at Bioptimizers. My name's Wade, Vida, and Andy over there. We're here all day long, so pick our brains. We're happy to talk with you. No question is stupid. Please don't let you think that you need to understand something. Come and ask us the questions. We've been doing this for a long time. You guys have been great, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.